Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Worldwide TV Network, Women on TV.tv, iTunes 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, and iHeartRadio and all the platforms around the world. So this is another special show. I like this guy. He doesn't know I know his work very, very well. Who are you and where are you coming from? And why are you on Movie Reviews and More?
I am Waddy Wachtel. I'm not sure what the hell I'm doing here, but I'm really glad to be somewhere right now.
So
Nice
Waddy, you'll like this. I know all your film scores when it comes to it being, we do movie reviews and we would do all the junkets. I was always very happy that you did stuff like Joe Dirt and everything else that I can think of it'll come to me off the top of my head. But I love it when people from the rock world get in and start composing films. I think of Danny Elfman, Trent. I was so happy for this because you guys add an extra touch when it comes to stuff just on the film side. Never mind everything else that you guys might have done on the studio, in the studio, and on the road. Talk about that aspect.
I love that. That's why I'm here. It's so special to me to be able to have done what I've done with the several films I've gotten to do. And Joe Dirt was my first biggie. And I love that you know that one. It was a thrill for me. I mean, it's due to Adam Sandler, I must say, that he's the one who gave me the shot at doing the films. And Joe Dirt, I really was green as a turnip when it came to that score. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was writing everything. I went through what they call a spotting session and got all the scenes laid out and went back to my house, and I'm looking at these scenes and I just started writing and writing. And when they gave me, put me with a great orchestrator named Scott Smalley, and he came over to my house to hear what I'm doing. And he looks at me and he goes, you're writing these very large. I went, oh, really? I have no idea what I'm doing. And he goes, yeah, you're writing it for about 90 pieces. I went, what? Come on, you're kidding me. He goes, well, that's what you got laid out here. I went, is that good? He goes, yeah, it's good. He says, I don't know if they'll give us the budget to do it, and fortunately they did. So my first major scoring session was a 90-piece orchestra score. It was phenomenal for me. And I'm just sitting there watching all these guys who I've seen over the years in the studios, and I knew some of them very well, out there playing every note that I wrote. It was fantastic for me. I love it. I really enjoy scoring.
When you think of life on the road, and I've interviewed almost all of them who've done composings, and I don't think people realize that it can be a bear. I remember when James Newton Howard he was doing Lord of the Rings, I think it was, and then they would always have the composer come in, which is what I thought was an honor, because how often can you hear this great music and get to pick their brain to see how they were writing stuff? I always wanted to know how you were doing this stuff. Were you scared when you first started doing that? Because you were coming from studio stuff and then being given the opportunity. I mean, I don't think that's easy to get, is it?
It's not easy to get, and it was not easy to adjust to. It was the first scoring that I actually did was for a TV show that didn't get picked up, but it was with a composer named Steven Graziano, who was doing a lot of TV work at that time. Do you know Steve?
Yeah, I know his work. Yes.
Yeah, and he's a wonderful guy. We're good friends still, but we got together to do this score for a show, and so I went to his house and he set me up with the computer, and it gave me the scene, and I went, now what? He goes, write something. What? He goes, write something. I went, oh, okay. And so I wrote something, and he goes, yeah, that's pretty good. And that was a little more guitar oriented than getting into the orchestra stuff. But it was, that was it. There's no breaking the ice other than write something. And I was shocked. It took me a minute to adjust, but then you just start writing, and it starts becoming easier each time you write one. But at the same time, it's very odd to me because when I get done with a film, I look at it and I go, I don't understand how I did any of that. And I don't know if other guys feel that way. I hope they do. But
No, they do. They do because I remember, talking to Danny Elfman, and I was, we would always get Jenna Elfman, and I always because I love Oingo Boingo. I play Stay, you know, and I've got the other song, Daily. It's like when I say daily, daily, and
wow.
being that movie guy and always doing the junkets, we miss having that in person one-to-one at the Four Seasons with the Beverly Hilton, and then getting a chance to talk to like those great composers. Their work is endless. So again, my hat goes out to you. I always wanted to say that to you. I never got a chance to talk to you about your work at those things. I would always be stuck talking to Adam about, how did the score, how did you pick this stuff? And he would be surprised. And I'm like, thank you for asking that questions, because he didn't want to do a lot of the interviews. But so I knew if we asked him something out of the way, he would want to respond, because this is his film, a Happy
Yeah,
Madison production. And you're part of that family,
absolutely. I'm so glad to be too. It's a great place to be. Adam's been so wonderful to me in that. Now I did Mall Cop was extremely a lot of work. It was like doing it was an action movie, and when you're doing scores, this, that they give you a temp score, and here's what we want. This is basically what we want. These temps were like, they were coming out of these gigantic action movie scores, and there was a time crunch involved also, because music is the last thing that gets done on films.
Yep.
And it's, don't worry, is it done? Is it done now? Is it, you're finished? Finished. I just started 2 weeks ago. You're not finished yet? I'm getting there. But there was a lot of, it's wall to wall music, that film is. And it was really an education.
Were you going to bed dreaming about what you can do and just kind of waking up? And because I always want to know that, because again, when you think of, again, I can't keep harping on these scores, and then Mallrat becomes a hit. I mean, who would have known, and then you're like, I must be doing something right? Which is what
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, just the way, when I would bring, you bring in a piece that you're working on, you bring in a cue, they called, and they either go, yeah, that's fine, or no, what else you got? And so just to get the approval on the scores is enough to make you be able to sleep at night, because you're not thinking of anything else. I'm not. I mean, it's constant in my head. And it was a funny situation. My wife and I moved to a town called Lakeview Terrace when I was working on Mall Cop. And like the second night we were there, and all I did was sit in my room and write and work. Came to bed around like 2 a.m, and I heard all these airplanes going overhead. And I went, oh, well, that's weird. Wonder what's going on. Oh, well, I'm too tired. I don't care. Went to sleep. My wife woke me up at 6 a.m. saying, look outside. We're surrounded by fire. There was the big Lakeview Terrace fire that happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. So we're gathering up everything we have. And she goes, do you have the guitar? I got the guitars, and this and that. And I said, I have to get the reels. I have to get the drives. The movie company doesn't care if my house burns down, as long as I have the score. If I don't have that score, we're finished. So I ran back in, got all the drives, and back to work. We went the next day. We didn't have to leave. We were fortunate enough not to have to evacuate, but it was you're on it morning, noon, and night, especially on a film like that. It was incredible. And then you go from that into the studio and record it all with the full orchestra. It's great. It's so rewarding when you sit back, like I said, that day at that studio with Joe Dirt, and hearing these guys playing my score. Someone said, are you enjoying this? I went, I think I like this a lot more than sitting with someone in the control room trying to get a vocal out of somebody, trying to make sure they feel good. Because you have to, it's a very delicate process when you're producing singers. It's a whole different world. This was like, yeah, guys, it's great. Play that music, boys. I love it. I didn't have the artist I was producing. My score was the artist, basically.
So when you go to a premiere like this and then you hear that, and those people who would recognize who you were, not only in the rock world, but now you're that composer, you're like, this is interesting because now you get a chance to see that, to hear what you've written on the big screen. What was
Yeah.
that for you?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's truly wonderful.
And you know why I say that? Because at that point, I'm thinking of when you did The Longest Yard. I'm thinking of that because it's a remake at this point of a classic film, which ends
Right.
up being a hit.
Yeah. Well, I did, excuse me, I only did several cues for that movie. I was brought on to add some, add a couple of cues to it. But yeah, it was great. And, you know, so you're watching that film and up comes your score. There's nothing like it. I mean, it's fantastic. Mall Cop, the opening of Mall Cop is a gigantic score. And then right into this chorale, you know, operatic voices and everything going behind these. And you got to play it serious because the jokes have to fire off on top of it. You can't, for a second, you can't play into the music. You can't play into the dialogue. You know what I mean? You have to come to it a whole different way. You can't try to make it funny. You make it serious so the jokes on top will work.
You
I
know,
learned that. I learned that with Werewolves of London with Warren Zevon and myself. When we did that, we had a hard time recording that song because everybody was like thinking it was fun, you know, and Warren and I kept going, it's not right. It's got to be serious. It's got to sound like heavy and down. And, you know, we finally got it right, but it took a while. But that's how it is.
what's a favorite memory of Warren?
No, there's too many, really. There's so many. We spent a lot of time together. You know, we met in 1970 working for the Everly Brothers. He was the band leader, and we spent our, you know, formative years together in the studios, out of the studios, on the road with Don and Phil, and then in the studio producing him and arranging his stuff. There were great moments all along the place. One of my favorite moments was, there's a song of his called Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner, and the ending has this specific rhythmic situation on it. And so I had Russ Kunkel, my dear drummer and immediate family, and my friend Bob Glob playing bass. And the band was just going to be Warren and them. I said, there's not going to be any guitar on this. I'll overdub, very little guitar on this. It just needs to be the trio. But I taught Russell and Bob this specific ending. You know, it was written out, but I said, I want you guys to know this. So when he comes in, when we play it down, when the run through goes down, I want him to shock him with this. So we got to it. I said, I'll be in the booth and I'll count you in. And it's got this ending, this whole rhythmic ending that goes with his lyric. And they did it. And he just jumped up off the piano. He goes, Jesus Christ, man, you pay these guys double scale. They really know this shit, huh? You know, it was fantastic. But we had a million memories together. It's really hard to pinpoint.
When you think back to when you first started, can you picture yourself as that kid growing up years later, going on the road, but also being in the studio? Because, you know, you rock guys, and I was a ticket scalper back in Connecticut. I grew up in an all white town in East Lyme, Connecticut, where there's 3 black families out of 7,000. And the reason I say this is because on my birthday, I'll never forget, my first rock concert I went to, they kidnapped me for my birthday. We're driving an hour to the Hartwick Civic Center, which I found out later. Where are we going? You're going to a concert. What? Why am I going to a concert? It turned out to be Ted Nugent. As I was like, I'm going to see Ted Nugent, that guy who swings around in a line clock, I'm thinking. And it was one of the best concerts when this is my first one. I'm looking around. I'm the only black guy out of 20,000 people. I'm on the floor. And I'm like, this is pretty good. I ended up liking him at that point. I'm like, it's pretty good. So from that, I became a ticket scalper, and I got a chance to meet a lot of the people, because later on, when I worked for Tower Video, I had no idea I was going to end up meeting a lot of these people, signing them up. They would all come in and pick up the VHS tapes at that point in the late 80s. Slash and Axl Rose were my managers 2 years before Guns N' Roses hit, if you can imagine that. Wow. And so all you guys were coming in. We probably met back then, but I'm thinking of, had you had any idea where you might be now, playing on a lot of these iconic records with now what you would say the immediate family? Could you have foreseen any of that?
Um, it's hard to imagine that I could, but when I was in high school, I'd hear these records. I was always caught by music even when I was a child. I mean, it started when I was like 5, 6 years old. I mean, I was addicted to music. And there were some records that were these instrumental records. Be Bumble and the Stingers, if you remember Bumble Boogie, this tune.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's great. And I used to like say, gee, I wish I played on that. I wish I could be in the studio, I hear a guitar on that. I wish it was me. I started playing when I was 9. So by the time I was 14, 15, I was, as far as I was concerned, ready to play with anybody. So I said, I kept wishing I would be in the studio. Then that dream kind of took a back seat to getting in a band and trying to make it with a band. Moved to California with the band. And in the process of getting record deals and meeting producers, I started meeting studio players and going to studios and hearing these guys play, and started thinking, I think I play as well as these guys, or, as well as some of them. I play well enough to be able to do that job now, the job that I envisioned when I was in high school. I think I could do that. And eventually the band just didn't work out. I fired everybody instead of quit. I made it a point to let them know they were fired. And I said, I'm going to be a studio musician, man. I'm done with this. And thank God and timing and everything, I was in the right place at the right time. And I was able to crack that shell and get in the studios and start playing guitar for people. The idea of scoring at that point was not even a reality to me. I was so glad to be playing the guitar on records. And it wasn't until Adam said that to me. Well, the TV show, even though I did this TV show, this pilot, still the idea of movie scoring hadn't hit me, because Steve Graziano was doing a lot of TV, and I was on the road so much then. I was thinking, I just thought, well, this is cool to do, but I got to get back on the road and get back in the studios. So scoring was never really in the forefront of my mind until Adam said it to me. So I could envision it a little bit when I was a kid, forgot about it for a while, and then realized, oh man, here I am in the thick of it now. So it's been quite a blessing and quite a ride.
What year did you move to California, and what state did you come from?
I grew up in New York, and this band that I put together was from New England and Rhode Island and New York, but we came out from New York City in 1968, summer of '68.
Oh wow!
And I started doing sessions by the end of '69. I was already in the studios doing sessions.
So at that point, okay, so I've talked to the Funk Brothers. There were 17 of them. I got a chance to talk to 13 of them. Man, it must have been right about, I'm thinking 03, and it was an honor. I just remember it was it was on Hollywood Boulevard. It was up there. They used to have a movie theater up there. They turned it into a fitness place. And they recorded every single Motown hit.
Yeah.
I just remember the one white guy, he played saxophone and trumpet. And I wanted to talk to him because I wanted to know what was it like being around this soul for you, being a person who was not of color. And they go, I was one of them. And when they had the Detroit riots, they protected me because we were all brothers, and that's how we became the Funk Brothers. And I remember talking to the Wrecking Crew, and having Denny, when he directed that film, it was an honor to talk to Hal Blaine and realizing that great bass player was Carol. And so now I get a chance to have you guys included in, because you guys are iconic on what you guys have done in the studio too. And that to me is an honor, because I still put up that interview that I did with them, the three of them, at this drum store on Melrose in Santa Monica. And it was just an honor because I knew their history of every album that these guys played on. And so for you guys, I know what you guys have done. And I tell people with our audience, you gotta interview these guys now, because the way people are dying, they're not being replaced by anybody of significance that we could see so far. You guys, what you've done is in the history books. You guys are rock and roll history. And it's an honor to see and talk with you guys and have it documented on film so that the whole world can see.
That's great. Thank you so much, man. I so appreciate that. Like I said, it was the timing to get here was extraordinary. And within a few years, I met Lee Sklar first. And a couple of weeks after I met Leland, I met Russell. And then Danny and we were put on a session together. That was the four of us, and there we were together. I worked for a producer named Nick Vinay, who Nick produced the first Beach Boys album. Oh, yeah. And he also produced Linda Ronstadt's Stone Ponies album, among a million other things. And he was great. And he loved me dearly. And he really kept employing me. And one night he said, "It's time for you to move on," which I thought he meant he was firing me. I went, what's the matter? What did I do? And he goes, no. He says, "It's time for you to move on." We were doing a lot of acoustic folk albums and things like that. I couldn't even play electric guitar, really. So he goes, I want you to play electric tomorrow. I invited this new guy in town named David Foster. I want him to hear you. I've invited him to come because I want him to hear you play. So bring your electric rig. I want him to hear you play slide. I want him to hear you play electric. So we had a great night. And about 3 nights later, I got a call from Lou Adler's office, and because of David. And that's when I met Danny. They asked me to come to do this session. The first session we did together was for Tim Curry.
Oh, wow.
And there was Leland and Russell and Cooch, who I, at that point, was so envious of because I kept seeing his name on all these albums, and I wasn't in there yet. I was working on stuff, but not name records. And who is this guy, Cooch? I hate this guy. What is this guy? And of course, we fell in love with each other the second we met. We're both reggae freaks too, so it fit the bill completely. And we've been in each other's faces and lives since that day. So it's such a natural development that we wind up together now at this age.
Did you see what was going to happen with David Foster at that point when you met him? Did you know he was talented coming from Canada at that point?
Well, at that point, he was just the hot new piano player in town.
Right.
I mean,
right.
He literally was that guy.
Yeah.
And then again, our careers took such different paths, and I was on the road a lot of those years. So all of a sudden, I come home and David Foster, I know him. What do you mean he's this big wig now? What? Foster's a big wig? He produced what? He produced what? He produced what? Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know Dave. And we run into each other now and then. He's Waddy, it's great to see him. But no, I had no idea.
Well, and the reason I say that because you've got this whole audience that loves your scores. That's why I started off with that, because they know you were that, and then you got to go back and look at, oh, he's played on these albums. He's done this when he's been on the road. And I always want to make sure that people are aware of where people came from and how they started. Because if you fail to pay, homage to the past, there is no future. And I think that's very, very important. And there's not a lot of us junket people left that would always interview these people every day, whether it's a new CD. Like I said, there's no Weinstein Company anymore. There is no Miramax. So talk to a lot of these people when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck first started, and look where they are now. I was there when they first started. Ben Affleck and John Favreau was there when they first did Swingers. Look where they are now. Vince Vaughn, his mom is my CEO on Women on TV, Worldwide TV Network. Really? I didn't see that one coming. So that's why I asked you guys, because you never know how things are going to unfold. And so you being that iconic person in the rock world, and again, it's fun to see how everything is laid out for you, because I first knew you as that guy who's writing the scores, and I'm like, oh, he did this? I'm like, oh, I know his sound. So I had to go backwards, and it was fascinating to see that. And then having Leland, he's been in our studio. He loves our studio in Hollywood. And, he was one of the first to tell me about the book that he was writing. And I go, write that book, it's about time. And I had just met him. You got people flipping off the bird through all these years. Come on, Leland, get it out there, And he came with Kenny. Did he come with Kenny Arnoff? Yeah, he came with Kenny Arnoff to the studio, and it was fun to have them on because it was just 5 of us in our studio doing it.
Right.
We hadn't met before. and then they didn't want to leave. And this is during COVID.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they had so much fun coming. So now we're part of the family. So, I'm going to invite you down and probably
Please.
Cleveland come because there's only 5 of us in the studio. So we keep it clean and everything like that. And people like it because they're like surprised.
Right. I'd love to. That'd be awesome. I love that.
Talk, what happened? Because today is the day a year ago. I walked out. It was on a Tuesday. I walked out and I was just finishing Sergio Mendes at the Grammy Museum. He had a documentary on him called In the Key of Joy that John Scheinfeld did.
Oh,
And it was just 5 of us at the Grammy Museum. I walked out at 10 after 9 that night. Major League Baseball had been called. NHL hockey season had been called. NBA season had been called, and the Lakers were right about to get out. It's a year ago today that I was locked down at that point. Most people were March 11th or the 15th, 17th, the latest.
right.
What were you doing once you got locked down? You can't go on the road anymore. You don't know what's happening, and it's like a shock to most people. You're like, what? What were you doing?
Well, I had just gotten back from Japan. I did a short tour with a band of mine called Ronin that we had out in the 80s. And we got together and did a couple of days over there. And things were brewing. We could tell things were not right in the world. Then we came home and immediate family went on a cruise thing, which I was definitely opposed to doing anyway. But we got on this cruise and we got off that boat and we came home and that was it. Then I didn't leave this house. And, for me, I do a lot of sessions at my house anyway. So I do a lot of guitar work for people, so that at first it wasn't so bad. It wasn't too unusual. And I call myself a man in the great indoors. So I don't like to go outside that much anyway, but I don't like to be inside this much, believe me. This is insane. And so it was frightening, especially to have seen, we were on that boat with like thousands of people. And it was a panic. I mean, nobody got run over, but trying to get off that boat that last day, people couldn't wait. I mean, it was frightening. There was another boat out. They were supposed to get off the boat and go into the Bahamas, I think it was, or somewhere like that. And I had said, because I just got back from Japan, they said they might have to quarantine me. I said, that's fine, because I'm not going off the boat anyway. I'm staying in my room. I don't care. And when it came time for everyone to go off the boat, they said, no one's getting off the boat, because there was another boat that was infected in the water, hundreds of yards away from us. We could see it. So nobody got off the boat anyway, and came home and locked the door, started wearing the masks, started wearing the gloves, started wiping everything down, and wondered what the hell was going to happen to us, and watched too many people die. It's insane.
No, the interesting thing is, I can only imagine what you started seeing in Asia on your way back, and then you end up on a cruise. I mean, and you go to begin with.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to go anyway. But when we went to Japan, when we got off the plane, we were walking towards customs. There was a line that was cordoned off. All these people from China, hundreds of people, and you said stay away from them. They just walk you away from them. We're looking at this massive group of infected people, probably.
Wow.
It was scary. It was really scary. I mean, Japan, they've been wearing masks there for years anyway.
Yep.
Now we are them. But it was terrifying. I mean, the boat thing was really frightening. There were hand washing stations every 20 feet. I mean, they did a really good job of keeping it clean as possible. But still, you'd walk, you'd grab a banister and you go, oh my God, what am I doing?
Well, Waddy, all my friends, my hosts know, I have 13 co-hosts, they're all women. We've had our hand sanitizers, the Lipto hand sanitizers, for 5 years that I've been promoting. And it is the best hand sanitizer that a lot of people don't know. There's no chemicals in it, but it's all Lipto, made out of Australia. And then Scott
Really?
was on our show when I brought the CEO in. It was September. was right after Kenny's show because I did two that day, two on a Tuesday, two on a Wednesday. I go, I want you to know this. I've had this hand sanitizer, the cleanest one, the best one in the world for 5 years. What does that tell you, Scott? And he laughed at me. He goes, I need to have this because he wanted to do the living thing at that point. And he goes, Brian, can you get the CEO? I'm like, well, yeah, I have plenty of the stuff. I was prepared for this going back to 2018. And
Wow.
the show that I had it on has got 1.1 million views and counting. It's never been on YouTube, Waddy. It's never been on network TV, and it still goes up and never stops. That's just one show. Out of Franklin, Tennessee, we did it 2018. We did it August 4th of 2018, that show.
Wow.
And then the second show with our lights, with the restroom kit and unique LED products, I got this because I wanted to have them on the red carpet. And so we were using all the stuff. We were spraying on the stuff then as we were building up our small little studio of 5 people, learning how to do everything smaller because we knew what was coming. It's interesting to hear your story coming back because you saw what I was telling the co-host about why we had to be prepared to do all the stuff. 2020 was our best year because we saw it coming. So I said, we got to help all these other people who can't get out, who used to being on the road. And I was talking to the cruise lines, Norwegian, June, as late as June 24th of 2018. And I said, you guys need to have a Lipton hand sanitizer around your cruise ship. And then the one guy said, yes. He ended up leaving, couldn't get a hold of them. And then all of a sudden, where are they? No movie theaters right now, open still.
Right.
They won't open until after April 15th still. And no cruises are going out. And one of my co-hosts would perform on the cruise ships. And she was one of the last to get in from Yugoslavia. She was coming back from old Yugoslavia. She got in just in time.
Wow.
And we started doing our Zoom stuff April 2nd. And I said, I'm glad I could send you all this stuff because our job now on Movie Reviews and More is to help all those people who can't help themselves, help them get their word out and everything that comes. This film with Denny, the director, who directed the Wrecking Crew, I said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can to help all you people. And we have 7 million views a day and counting. At that point, we didn't have 2 million views in 2018. We didn't even have it yet. We didn't get until June 16th of 2019, we got our first million views. Now we're at 7. Between now and April 15th, by the time I see you, if I have you in the studio late April in Hollywood, we'll be at 25 million views a day and counting.
Too fantastic.
That's why I wanted to talk to you because again, this has been the best way to connect with people. And I'm used to doing it one-on-one in an upscale hotel. And I don't see that happening for a while. It's just not going to happen.
No. Someone was asking me the other day about how do I see concerts coming back? I tell you, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to happen. That seems like a huge problem and a huge loss of revenue for the venues, for the acts. I just don't see how they're going to put it together. And the clubs, I really feel bad for all the clubs around the country and around the world. I mean, some of the clubs that we go to normally with the immediate family and with my band Ronan, they've closed. They're all closed already. They're done. They can't sustain. And like the Iridium in New York, these are small places. I mean, so what are you going to do? You're going to have 1/3 of the capacity in a place that only holds 140 people?
Yeah.
You're not going to make a dime.
Yeah.
It's really, really a rough road.
Well, even for our Dreamweaver Artist Ranch, I told them, our property in Redding, in Northern California, the reason why we chose it because it's high enough up altitude wise. We've never had a fire on it. There's never been any fracking on it. Our soil has never been contaminated. We're setting it up sort of like the Hollywood Bowl and Red Rock in Colorado. And everything is outside, but it's also environmentally friendly and sustainable. So anytime we start to have, whether they're filmmakers, independent filmmakers, because they need help too, or musicians like yourself come in, our job is to make sure as soon as they step foot on the ground, because it's also sacred Indian ground, so we respect that because it's our property.
Right.
We want you guys to have a safe environment. We want you guys to be able to play to 200 people, plus because since it's up on a hill on granite, it is safe. Whatever happens outside the 4 walls is not our concern. As long as you guys on that property, you guys are okay because we've taken everything into consideration since then. And again, if I've had my hand sanitizer for 5 years and I saw this stuff coming October 3rd of 2018 when I sent the first email out, the property's got to be done the right way because you guys as performers, you're going to be playing to 200 people, but it's on 36 acres. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's the best that we can do right now, you know?
Yeah, really. That's fabulous, though. That's a great, just to know that that's there. And, you know, there must be other people that had the foresight to think of this. I hope.
There's a few, but they didn't have the hand sanitizer. They didn't have the.
No, no, I got to get some of that stuff. You got to send me some of that stuff.
Oh, I'm going to give it to you. Yes, because I love stuff like that. I have great technology that a lot of the people in the U.S. haven't seen yet. And like LG, you know them as computers, televisions, cell phones, but they're giving us our solar panels. You know, I have a company, BlendJet. I have all these companies like this, BlendJet. You know, when I'm talking to the CEOs, these guys started in 17 and they're kicking ass where you can take your blender with you and can you blend all your own stuff. You know, I like things like that because this is what we have to do. You can't touch a lot of stuff. It's hard to go to a buffet unless you're in Texas, Georgia, or Florida. You know?
I don't think I want to go to a buffet in Georgia or Texas or any of those places. I don't want to go to a buffet in New York City or in Los Angeles, so much less. I wouldn't get out of my car in the South right now. I mean,
hey, and the reason why I spent time 2019 for 5 months in Georgia, because I was visiting my mom, I was letting them know they were on a place called like Sun City Peachtree, private estate of only 1,500, but you have to be 55. It's only for 55 to 86 people that live there. The 1,500 people live there, and they're all elderly. So again, I was telling them I was handing out my hand sanitizers then. That's 2018, 2019. And they were like, we love this. We're clean order. Here, take it. Here's my code. Order whatever you want. What did everybody lead in the last year? Hand sanitizer, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the stuff. That's the stuff. And I meant no insult to the South, by the way, because I love playing in the South.
No, it's not that. We have to be safe because I think of this. There's not another Tom Petty. I'm going to miss Ed Van Halen. You know, you guys are icons. What happens if you get sick? You know, my friend Sinbad I had on the show, he had a stroke. I still don't know what's going on with him.
Oh, no.
I still don't know what happened to him. So, and you know, he did 2 concerts. He did one in Arizona and one in Indianapolis. He goes, Brian, I shouldn't have gone to those states, you know, because his management booked him and he just wanted to see what was going to go on. And he's used to mingling with everybody and he couldn't do it. He got back in his car and he drove back from Arizona by himself. And I called him as he was driving back. I'm like, how was it? He goes, it was strange. I couldn't wait to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too scary. It's too scary.
Give me your social media links and how can people chime in to see what's going on with the media family?
Well, the media family has a Facebook outlet, Instagram, Twitter, I believe. We have a website. We're everywhere. You can look for us, and please do on the YouTube channel. If anyone wants to go to the Immediate Family YouTube channel and subscribe, we got a lot of great videos there, some funny stuff, some great musical stuff, a bunch of Lee Sklar stuff, and we're trying to be everywhere. And I'll tell you the one thing that's the most redeeming thing that's happened for me is that if I didn't have the band during this period. And I told him we had to answer an email to somebody the other day. It was a few months ago. And I started writing it. We had to all submit this answer to something. And I said to the guys, I said, I just want you guys to know something. If I didn't have this band right now, I would be completely out of my mind. Because my poor wife, she's been saddled with me home for a year, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. She's fantastic and wonderful and puts up with me. But the loneliness of not being, we're hams, we belong out there on the stages, we belong out in the studios, but especially on the stages, playing to people. That's the rewarding part of the music business when you're in a band situation, in a rock and roll format. Records are wonderful. We all grew up loving records, living on records, but records are an approximation of what happens on the stage. That's the real article. And to not have that, and to not have for an entertainer, to not have that outlet, and to not even be able to go to a studio to, normally we're in studios, 4 or 5 days a week, easy. you know, used to be every day, triple sessions. But to not be able to, you know, someone will call me, I'm sorry, man, I'm not going to your studio, you know, no way, you know, I can't do it. And so without the band, without the focus of the immediate family, and we've been doing our own videos from home, everybody's filming their own stuff. We have a wonderful editor named Michael Permada. He puts the stuff together, but everyone's shooting their stuff. I haven't even seen these guys for about 4 months now. You know, we get together. I call it our gig. Our gig now is a Zoom on Friday. That's our gig. Oh, we got a gig this weekend. Don't forget, you know, spend 25 minutes, half an hour together looking at each other, you know. It's unbelievable. So without that band, I'm sure I would have taken a fall some way or another. I would have gone out of my mind completely. So because of the band, I've been able to maintain sanity.
I feel the same way because, again, I've got 13 co-hosts. They're all women, and we're very, very close. And we, you know, only 4 of us have seen each other when I have gone into the studio. And the other ones are like, please don't forget about me. I'm like, no, we don't forget about you. We see each other almost every day because we have so many shows we do. You
Right.
know, they did 3 yesterday, 3 today, 3 tomorrow. Our live shows around the world, 220 countries around every Tuesday. So we see each other, but we actually haven't physically see each other, which is weird. So when we get together, it's like, we just saw you, but we didn't physically see you. So it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
And me, I'm used to going to the movie theaters. And that was my getaway. Leave me alone. I'm going to the movies for 2 hours. I don't have to answer my phone. I know it's ringing. I know it's vibrating. I know they need to reach me, but I need to see a movie.
Right.
I can't go to the movie theaters. I am not going to the movie theaters because I know the ventilation system is not safe.
Oh, definitely not.
Lindley Theaters, Regal out of Tennessee. I've been telling them for 3 years, you guys need to do something different. Where are they? Closed.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like I didn't warn them because I did. And I'm like, okay, see, I'm going to outlast you guys. When my numbers are bigger than yours and you guys are a corporation and I'm a small business, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So, like, never mind, I'll just do it myself. So that's why it's an honor to have with you. Waddy, thank you so much. And I have to always say this, if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, and we'll see you next.